The other question that I saw was, do courses completed in the WINGS program count as CEUs? They do. There is a special breakdown in the actual package that will tell you how many WINGS courses count towards how many CEUs. I honestly don't know the answer exactly what the breakdown is off the top of my head, but they most certainly do count. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to move on to the first sort of panel question. This is where I get to essentially sit back and let my panel talk about it. But why did you guys become a NAFI Master Instructor?
Well, this is Chris. The first reason I did it is I was actually kind of encouraged to do. I think the first one to actually get the Master CFI was Greg Gorak. And, of course, he only lives about 40 miles from me. And, but anyway, he kind of saw my involvement and kind of pushed me in that way. And then I kind of looked at it and I go, well, this is a good program. It kind of shows that I'm involved. And I was probably at that time, I don't think I was a pilot examiner yet, so I was trying to find a way to pump up my resume to become a DPE.
Dave Cecchino. You know, I did it to improve my integrity as an instructor. I mean, you know, I always want to assess my skills as an instructor. I always look for constant feedback, and that's even from our local DPEs. Also, you know, looking at the different categories, you know, how well am I doing in all these categories, and it kind of like, you know, is like an overview of everything that's happening, you know, an instructor, an educator, service to community and professional activity. Do I need to do more, or do I need to add, you know, more to my skill sets in these different categories? And I think that to me is the single most reason why I did it, because I wanted to, you know, take a look, and NAFI actually goes through this systematic process, and it's based off of, you know, professional standards and peer review. So, you know, that's a really important thing to me, and to be assessed at such a high level, you know, among, you know, peers, but also, you know, getting recommendations from other fellow flight instructors and DPEs, it really builds, you know, your credibility in the community, you know, with aviation. So I highly recommend it.
This is Aaron. At the time that I first applied to be a master instructor, I thought I was actually about to embark on a career change and leave flight instruction. I was doing a lot of thinking about what my legacy was going to be. You know, beyond the people that I taught to fly, had I really impacted anything? And this seemed like a really good way to examine what that legacy was and see how I stacked up among my peers about what I was able to generate and what I was able to leave back in flight instruction. And like I said earlier, it's turned into a progressive pathway for me, but that was my original reasoning.
This is Ted. I originally got mine because of my heavy involvement with NAFI and with EAA. For several years, I was the chairman of the Learn to Fly Center at Oshkosh, which was when we were affiliated with EAA. And what that did was, with the forums that I presented and everything else, it gave me a standard to reach for excellence, and then a chance to be recognized with that, which gave me a little more street cred with the entire community when I put on those forums, so that it would have a little more impact, and it gave me a better chance, or for a higher quality of payback to aviation that I love so much.
Excellent answers, gentlemen. Anybody in the audience have any questions about why anybody would want to become a NAFI instructor, or any of that kind of stuff? We're going to get into benefits shortly. So.
Okay, and I'm about to unmute the world here, so we're going to find out who has made sure they muted their own phones and microphones. So here we go. Wow, wow, pretty good.
We're going to move on then.
Well, are there any questions from anybody out there?
Can you hear me?
I think so, yes. No, I think I'm going to have to mute everybody, John.
Okay,
otherwise,
go for it.
Otherwise we're going to learn all about gold bonding.
We'll take questions from everybody at the end then.
There we go. I'm going to mute everybody and then
I'll watch the text.
There we go. Okay, John, you're
okay,
unmuted.
So the next question, of course, as you can see, is what are the benefits of becoming a NAFI Master Instructor? And you know what? Let's start with Ted this time. What are the benefits for you?
Ted, I believe you're muted, so let me find you here and unmute you, or if you can unmute yourself, that'd be great.
Can you hear me?
There we are. Yep.
Okay, what was that, John?
I said, what are the benefits for you? What did you feel you gained from becoming a Master CFI?
Well, one of the things I gained was my willingness to achieve a higher standard, to strive for something, and actually I could feel that I did get there or made more steps to become a better instructor. And it also gave me a little more credibility with some of the younger instructors that I was trying to mentor and bring along, which I had a few in the school that I was teaching on before it went out of business. And it just, like I said, it gave me more credibility in my all my forums. And as a NAFI board member, at least we had someone on the board that was participating in that program.
How about you, Aaron?
Well, I like a phrase that Ted used when he was answering the last question, street cred. I mean, that's extrinsically been a big thing for me. You know, I can tell you that it's been a good marketing thing for me. I can tell you that Baylor University definitely likes being able to say they have a master instructor on the faculty. And it's been really neat, you know, whenever I felt like I wanted to write something, whether it be for Mentor or another publication, that master label has definitely been a foot in the door in terms of getting things published. And I haven't even had, you know, other organizations approach me about writing stuff. So that's the extrinsic benefits have been real obvious. Intrinsically, I'll kind of echo Ted. Once you do it once, I think if you have any integrity and you're still instructing, it forces you to continue to do the things that you need to do to give back to aviation. It's really hard once you have it in your head that I want to renew a second time and a third time and so on and so forth, to just go through the motions and just sit in the airplane and not do anything else. So I'm always looking for opportunities to do more, to write more, speak more, contribute more, expose aviation to more people. And the CEUs are a big part of that.
Chris, what do you think?
Well, I got a number of benefits out of it. You know, like it's been repeated already, the street cred helped a little bit, especially in getting my DP. It was something that helped me move to the top of that list with the selection. I did have a good working relationship with the FSDO, but that seemed to help quite a bit. I have used it to renew my CFI. Do I need to do it? Not necessarily, but it's a lot easier to go into the FSDO with paperwork in hand, and they look at it, and 5 minutes later you walk out with a brand new CFI certificate. The other thing is, my rates. There's always a conversation, at least around here, is how can you justify being this much more an hour versus this guy over here. Well, a lot of people go, a CFI is a CFI, but, well, I do have a master's CFI. I've been involved with it for this long, and I've met the criteria of NAFI, and they've awarded me that award. And it's not just a guy that's just sitting in the right seat to build time. I've been here, and I've got a vested interest in providing the best instruction I can from that aspect of it. So those are, it's kind of self-centered into that thing. What I like, if people are involved in aviation, meeting the Master CFI requirements are relatively easy. And the one thing I liked when I was evaluating packages was, well, two things. The level of package, you could see the level of involvement. The people that easily meet the requirements. For example, I remember doing Aaron's initial one. His package to go through was very easy. It was well organized. The paperwork was all set. It was a very easy working relationship, and it kind of gave you the idea of the individual you were working with. And I think that when I look at the number of people that have applied for this, and John, you could probably give us the details on actual how many Master CFIs are there. I mean, I think we got, what, 56 on this forum, and I think, how many Master CFIs do we have?
On last count, I believe we were right around 60 or so.
Okay, so if we have 60 out of the number of CFIs that are even out there that meet these requirements, it's a pretty small crowd. So that kind of tells you the individual that you're working with. That goes back to the street cred. The other thing that it's helped me out, I use my NAFI Master and the NAFI Avemco insurance discount, which saves me, I don't know, I think it's 10% or so off my flight instructor liability insurance. And that's another benefit that's, you know, benefited me over the years. Not to mention the pretty cert and the nice coins you developed. Those have been nice perks as well.
Yeah, I have to give
now,
John...
David, I left you for last, and the reason for that is because as the newest Master CFI on the panel here, you know, have you begun to notice anything specific in terms of benefit from becoming and being awarded the Master CFI?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the biggest benefits right now is talking to all you guys on the phone. I mean, if I didn't have that, I'd be probably on the other end and you know, listening. And I think it's absolutely an amazing thing to be able to share, you know, this type of knowledge that we have. And just I'm actually quite impressed at, you know, the number that you mentioned, that there are 60 Master CFIs. I mean, to me, that's an outstanding achievement, and kudos to all that have that Master CFI. Most importantly, you know, the benefit for me as a Master CFI is the ability to give out, you know, expert instructional knowledge to my students, and you know, have that type of credibility and recognition that they've been taught by a Master CFI, and you know, they can go on and, you know, to other levels of their, you know, flight experience, and you know, private, instrument, commercial, you know, going to be a flight instructor. And you know, it just always shows that we're, you know, seeking higher cognitive skills, you know, improving as an instructor, and that's really, you know, important, and it's a benefit too as well, because it's a benefit to me as I'm you know, seeking out additional learning and knowledge, you know, as a master. But also, you know, flight school benefit. You know, think about, you know, there's the AOPA flight school A-list, right? And you know, flight schools can benefit through NAFI. They can say, hey, we got Master CFI, you know, on roll here. So that's an outstanding achievement. Also, the other benefits is, you know, you have more rapport with the local DPEs. I mean, I've noticed that I've, you know, been more engaged with our local DPEs, and they're, you know, they say, hey, he's a Master CFI, and you know, they'll call you out on that, and they'll say, hey, you know, you're Master, you teach well. And so I think that's a great benefit in itself, just knowing that, you know, they can rely on you for, you know, producing really good applicants for check rides, you know, whether it's a private or an ATP or instrument. So.
Hey, John?
Yes, sir.
The other thing is, when people ask me about NAFI and NAFI instructors, I tell them that if you have an instructor that wants to belong to the professional organization, it says he's not just in there to build time, he's not in there just for a hobby. He really wants to be and achieve a level of expertise and be a good instructor. Well, you take that one step further, and then once you get to that point, to get to the Master Instructor, you're doing the same thing, but you're doing it on a higher level. So it continues to show your dedication to the profession of flight instruction.
I think you guys all came up with wonderful answers, and I'm going to add my own 2 cents here. Now, I'm not a master instructor myself. It has been a goal of mine, and you know, one of the things from the outside looking in that I've noticed, and I believe one of the 4 of you I was talking to the other day, and I really liked what you said, and that was the sense of community that the Master CFI program has created. You know, the Master Instructors, you know, in a lot of cases seem to know each other, you know, through the camaraderie of the program, through, you know, understanding the trials and tribulations of the things that you guys go through, and of course the experience that comes with it. And what I really like about that is that, you know, the Master Instructors, in my experience with them, have always been extremely willing to mentor and help newer instructors. I mean, when I first started out several years ago as an instructor, you know, I had probably 2 master instructors that I talked to on a daily basis that I was privileged to know and went above and beyond to help me understand, you know, sort of what I was getting into. So it's a really kind of neat aspect of the program because, you know, it's more than just being a master instructor and teaching students, but it's also helping other instructors. So without further ado, I'm going to move on to the next topic.
Can I jump in for just 1 second, John? I'm gonna take chairman prerogative here for about 1 second. We mentioned the number of masters that we have. We have currently say we've got 60 on the roster, and I am convinced that of the 50+ people that are listening tonight, there's got to be at least 10 more masters in waiting out there. A lot of people, from some of the comments I'm seeing, there are people that think they can't, you know, they don't have the right CEUs or the right kinds of things. And I think it was Chris that made the point. You'd be surprised what would fit. There was one gentleman who asked about level D, teaching in level D simulators, for example. Well, that's flight instruction as far as I'm concerned. And I'm sure I'm sure Chris, as one of the evaluators, would agree with that. And if nothing else, at least on the educator side. So a lot of people end up stopping themselves from joining the program. That's something I've noticed over the years. And I'm not putting anybody down or anything like that. Really what it is you really should give yourself more credit, pardon the pun, for the activity that you've done. And that's what I'd encourage everybody to take a good hard look at as they go through their logbooks or what have you.
David Cecchino, I agree with that. Chime in there, and you know, as an instructor, when I was first looking at the NAFI program, you know, I was kind of like, I don't think I have these credits, and really when I looked at it, you know, giving you know, flight reviews, giving wings credit, you know, and that's something that, you know, we kind of overlook on a day-to-day basis as instructors. And you know, any little thing helps. I mean, even if you're a lot of people now, instructors are posting videos on YouTube that are instructional, or you develop like an Excel spreadsheet with like procedures that help out students that you hand to them, or any documentation that you write. Those type of things, you know, don't take for granted. You know, those things can count as your CU credits, and that's what really kind of helped. And the team at NAFI, you know, especially, you know, I appreciate John, you know, a lot, because he was a mentor myself, even, you know, walking me through this whole process, and you know, just, you know, told me, hey, these credits all count, and you know, just make sure you organize them well, make sure it's well laid out, and that truly just kind of going through your logbook or anything that you have provided to students, or even going to air shows and volunteering in the air shows, or providing some type of you know, assistance, you know, can, you know, provide a CU credit. So just wanted to chime in there.
Yeah, and go along with that, David. I got a lot of mine, being president of my EAA chapter, the activities that we did, that was volunteerism. In years past, we had our members in a NAFI tent, and we had, they called us flight specialists. My volunteerism with NAFI at AirVenture, you put on forums there. Any one of those things, they all add up. You put on a presentation for, like I've got one coming up in February that I'm putting on a presentation with a PowerPoint that I put together for a local Illinois Pilots Association local chapter. All those little things that you do like that, most of you don't think that it counts for anything, but all of those little things add up. And every little bit that you do, just document it and throw it in that envelope. And you'll be surprised, you'll probably exceed a lot of the areas when it comes time to actually put the application together.
And the one thing that I would add, and this was a question by Steve Brown, he was talking about how information may be private. Certainly we understand that there is a time and a place in terms of being able to release some information, and we can generally work around that type of stuff, but I would also like to add the fact that our packages themselves are confidential. So between myself internally within NAFI and our reviewers, the information does not go any further. So, you know, it's a good way for us to work around some of that stuff too. So the next question, and I think we may have touched on this with the last one, but how has becoming a NAFI Master Instructor advanced your instruction career? Has it brought you any extra benefits that you wouldn't have seen otherwise?
This is Dave Cecchino. I'll just chime in. Definitely the accreditation has improved my standings as an instructor, and yeah, it is correct with the last question. You know, talking with our local DPs, I have definitely talked to them and felt more comfortable talking to them. Much longer on phone calls, and asking for feedback, and they give more helpful advice, and information to me. And not only that, I as an instructor, I'm seeing my business cards are basically dissipating more quickly than usual, and it's just because I have maybe an extra NAFI logo on my instructor card, I seem to see it kind of disappear, so just being involved as a NAFI Master Instructor has definitely helped out a lot. So,
what do you think, Aaron?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really helped me build my niche. And I'll echo what Dave was saying about the business cards disappearing. I've got the NAFI Master logo on my business cards, and they stay on the lobby front counter of the FBO where I base, and I'm always having to replenish them. And especially doing what I do, tailwheel is definitely a niche, but I'm by no means the only tailwheel school in Texas or the country. There's a bunch of us doing this, but I've got people who have found me on the internet in part because of the Master label. From as far away as the Netherlands and Australia that have sought me out for tailwheel training or tailwheel instructor transition training, and I don't know that would have been possible without the recognition of having that NAFI Master accreditation. And then I think, too, something else that I really should have said in the last question, you carry yourself differently when, listen to the bios that you read of this panel. When you can consider a group like this not just colleagues but peers, how can you not have a different outlook on the way you conduct yourself as an instructor? And I think that shows in front of your students and prospective students, and goes a long way to advance your career from a business standpoint and a pedagogical standpoint.
Ted, what do you think?
Well, like I said before, it gives you a lot more street cred. I personally have gotten so many people asking to become my students and stuff, and the flight school that was closest by, actually the two that I taught at, are no longer in business. And of course I spent the last 2.5 years building an airplane, so I haven't been actively instructing as much. All of the instructions we do at the Glider Club is pro bono, so it's not economically beneficial on that end, but my glider instruction and taking powered students into that and bringing them in, it's given me a chance to improve a lot of people, and even though maybe not advance my career so much there, but it's given me a better opportunity to give back. And to me, that's what I got into the Master Program for, was the ability to be the best instructor I could be, to continue to improve, and to give back to aviation, because at my age, it's about giving back before the end.
Ted, you got a long way to go. Don't say it that way, man.
Now, Chris, I once again chose you last on purpose, and obviously for the lengthy duration of your time as a master, what do you think?
Well, there's a lot of benefits. Like I mentioned before, with it helping getting my DPE, helps me, justify the rate if my fee when it's questioned, which usually isn't often. And as the other guy said, I'm actually kind of become a resource for a lot of different things. The FBO will call me with questions about something, or I'll have a student call about, an issue they're having while they're learning to fly, or, they want to buy an airplane. You really, I hate to say it, but sometimes I end up turning away business because I don't have the time to dedicate to all this stuff. I really would love to take on everybody and work with them from, the day they walk in the door, barely being able to finding the airport to actually, go into the license. But I just don't have the time. It really helps a lot. Like I say, you'll save money on the on your insurance if you go through the Avemco thing. And a lot of other little things that you've come up with along the way, the T-shirt, the coins, the other discounts that are available out there. It's helped me a lot. But probably the biggest thing is, like the other guys, the amount of customers that come in and that I'm able to help one way or the other if they have a question, or recommending a flight school. Unfortunately, where I am right now, I got a fairly big airport with 63,000 people in the town to the north and 40-some thousand to the people to the south, and there is no flight school, which is unfortunate. There's a lot of stuff, and I'm trying to figure out how to put one back together up here. But it's the opportunity is just knock on your door, and I think that a lot of that was helped out with the Master CFI.
If I can touch on something, gentlemen, that I kept hearing over and over in your comments is I kept hearing give, help, assist. That's mentoring. It's the opportunity to meet. I think one of the benefits that we sometimes, as flight instructors, are reluctant to touch on is that we get to meet a lot of people, and we get to help a lot of people, and we get to make a lot of friends. And I think that's a huge intangible benefit that comes out of the program. You're all mentors. You've all helped other pilots. And look back, I challenge you all to look back at your logbooks and look at all the names.
That's true, Bob. And I've got to go along with Chris. I've become, because of my master and also because of my building an airplane, I've become a resource for a lot of people. Our current management that runs our airport are not really aviation people, and they seem to depend on me a lot for information. And because of my involvement in the master program, I've attained the experience and the knowledge to be able to do that.
Excellent. All really great answers, gentlemen. So this is our final question of the night that I have prepared, and that question is, why renew? Why do it again after you've already achieved it one time? Let's start with Ted this time.
Well, I'll tell you, every time I obtained something in aviation, when I was working in the NAFI tent and stuff in the early part, a decade and so ago, when we had flight specialists, I got Flight Specialist of the Year, and I worked harder the next year, and I was the only person who ever got it 2 years in a row. And what it did was, when I got my first master, it made me want to do better and to continue that and to continue learning. I learn more than I teach, I think. And, I'll be 69 in a month. I've been around a while. I've flown over 80 different type of aircraft. They have an extensive thing, but I'm still learning. I have no ego about my abilities. I'm comfortable with what I can do, but I can always learn more. And the opportunity to do that, and then to have more to teach my students. When I got done flying freight and was in the system forever, I was 10 times the instrument instructor I was before I did that. And so once you get that, and once you've attained the master, you want to renew because you want to continue to perform at that level and even get better.
What do you think, Chris?
Well, two things. Number one is I hate to let something just go away that I held before, and I want to continue to show that I meet the requirements. The other thing is I believe in the program. I believe it's a good, solid program that I continue to want to be a part of. All of the reasons that were listed, before are all valid reasons. I like working with people. I like working with other instructors. There's a tremendous amount of thing that I'd hate to take down the NAFI Master CFI logo and have to answer, well, why aren't you a Master CFI anymore? I don't think I could really give a good answer to that.
How about you, David?
Yeah, echoing what Chris said, I mean, there's definitely integrity in the program. It keeps me engaged. That to me is the most important thing, and with evaluating my instructional skills. Going through the NAFI accreditation, I get references, and I get information from other instructors on, how am I doing? I mean, you could be an instructor and maybe you're an excellent instructor, or maybe you might be a grumpy instructor, but we always want to look for evaluation from other peers, and that to me is important, because I remember I was teaching ground schools in 2006 before I became a CFI, and not every student is going to like your instructional skills. I mean, it's human nature. I mean, not one instructional technique works for one particular student, and we all know that. However, if you seek evaluation from your students, and even evaluation from DPs or other instructors, and say, oh, how do you think I'm doing here, and how can I make things better, and they'll really evaluate you. I mean, don't be afraid to ask, to say, hey, how well am I really doing? And that's what, in a sense, that you're kind of evaluating, your skill set in all these different categories. And not only that, why not do it? I mean, every day we're teaching. Even if you're teaching part-time, and as a matter of fact, I'm a part-time instructor. I have another job, but as a part-time instructor, I was able to, complete the Master CFI, and I think that's a great, thing that I have done, while I was, doing school, and now I'm enrolled in the Master's program. But you're building, credit all the time. You just need to keep track of it, and not only that, it helps you maintain your relationship with the community. John said it before. There's a sense of community that we all share as pilots. But when you are doing something to help you, to further your advancements, and we all have personal goals, you actually reach out to other instructors, and you reach out to DPs, and they give you the feedback, and they help you out, and that's sense of community. That's someone has your back. And how do you want to be known as an instructor? That's important. I want to be known as a good instructor, a great instructor that is able to give information clearly to my students in a safe environment, and be able to complete their goals, of whether they're becoming a sport pilot, private pilot, instrument pilot, commercial pilot, and get them to be the success that they want to be, and eventually maybe they want to become an instructor. So, you know, as a NAFI Master Instructor, you're a mentor, and maybe you can mentor your student to become an instructor, because you know it is a tough thing to become an instructor, but NAFI helps you get you there. So,
Aaron, want to finish this up?
Yeah, sure. I'll start by echoing part of what Dave said. You know, in addition to owning the flight school, I own a business outside of aviation, and to my thinking, if I'm going to continue flight instructing, no matter what part of my life that's going to occupy, I want to do it at the highest level possible. And the master program forces me to achieve just that. And I'll put the sentiment that I think everybody has expressed in a little bit more maybe colloquial terms. I mean, how many actors do you know of who have won an Academy Award and walked away from acting? You know, once you've achieved this level, why would you quit pushing yourself? Why would you quit trying to achieve more, perform better, learn more, grow more? And the way that we really do, you know, not only do we have to achieve and learn and grow, but when you go through this peer review process, you have to make yourself vulnerable and open to critique and criticism and be a learner, even though you're the instructor. And that's one of the most healthy ways I know of to develop as an instructor. There's no other way to do it. Beyond that, you're just part of something bigger than yourself. You know, when you can give back to aviation the way that we get to, and when you can be a part of the conversation that really drives the history of aviation through the history of flight instruction, that's really neat to be a part of that. And I think that's a real basic human need, to be a part of something bigger than yourself, and we're just really blessed to be able to do that through this job that we love so much, through this organization that we love so much. So I know that we're all grateful for the opportunity.
Excellent. So, we're going to finish this up, or at least this portion of it. Before we open up the mics for general questions, I want to say thank you so much, gentlemen, Chris, Ted, Aaron, and David, for giving me your evenings and giving me your thoughts and opinions on the program, and of course for your participation in the program itself. We really appreciate you guys. You know, we wouldn't be where we are. We wouldn't have a program of such a high credibility and you know, just wonderful nature without people like you. So once again, thank you very much from all of us at NAFI. We very much appreciate it. And I'd also like to say, I was browsing through some names that were a part of this program or this webinar here, and there's at least one hopefully soon to be master instructor, and there was a accredited master instructor who were participants as well. I'm not going to call them out per se, but it also goes to show that you know, there's others out there as well. So again, if there's any questions in terms of the application process or anything that I can help with somebody who might be struggling, my information is listed below. That's my email address. You can also call the office and go through their phones, and you'll get me as well. And if you are interested in looking at the application itself, the link to the application is there at the bottom. If you happen to not have a chance to write it down, if you just go to nafinet.org, which is our homepage, you'll notice that there is a link across the top for the Master Instructor Program, and all the information is listed there as well. So at this point, I'd like to just open it up one last time. If anybody has any questions about the program itself, I'm more than happy to answer.
Okay, and I'm going to open up all the mics. Hopefully, I'm going to give a 2-second warning here. If you're not going to speak, please mute your own mic, and I will scramble to look for any open mics once I open them up. Maybe. Yep. Let's see if I do this. I didn't do it right. One more second, everybody. Thank you for your patience.
I want to thank you guys very much. Appreciate your time.
Okay. They're all open. Okay, one at a time. They're all open. Who would like? I'm gonna play chairman here for a second. Who would like to jump in here? Anybody? Well, I think we've done such a good job. Nobody has any questions, John.
All right. Well, the last thought I had, because Chris had mentioned this a couple times.
John, I muted you for about a nanosecond. Go ahead and try again.
There we go. So Chris Anderson had mentioned the challenge coins a couple times, and I figured I would bring that up real quick. One of the things that we started developing about 3 years ago is a set of 4 specific challenge coins that will go out exclusively to our master instructors. And for anybody who's not familiar, a challenge coin is actually something that was originally developed by the military. It was sort of a precursor to dog tags. It was a way for pilots to be identified behind enemy lines, because if you were an American pilot from a specific type of squadron, you would have a coin associated with that squadron. It would sort of prove who was who. And it has since evolved into sort of a token of respect. A lot of the branches of the military will have these things, and what it means to have one is that you did some kind of special service for whatever brigade or squadron or what have you. And it's generally done somewhat discreetly. And so it's kind of a very much a sign of respect. And so we as NAFI decided that we were going to come up with our own set of challenge coins that would be exclusively awarded to the masters. And what they would do is they would tell a story. And so there's going to be 4. 3 of them have come out, and it will take you essentially 4 renewals to get the whole set. And it starts off depicting your student's first solo, and I like to think about it as your first student's first solo, because that's the one that you really never forget. And so it depicts the instructor sort of cutting the tail feathers or the back end of the shirt off of their student. The second one depicts the actual achievement of the pilot certificate, the private pilot certificate. So it's kind of modeled to look like the back of the pilot certificate. The third one, which is the one that came out at AirVenture last year, and that one is all about different types of training. So it's things like transition training for tailwheel, as I'm sure makes Aaron happy, and things like adding on a type rating or adding on a seaplane rating. And let's see, what was the 4th one? Oh, and adding on a glider rating. That one was for Ted. And so it's kind of well, now you've achieved the pilot certificate. Here's the different ways you can go with this. And then the 4th one, which we don't have designed yet, but I'm pretty excited about because it's going to come out at AirVenture this year. This is the 4th and final one, and this will be the student's achievement of the actual CFI certificate. And the other thing I'm kind of excited about is that in the past, each year we've actually submitted master instructors and members for ideas on how to design the coin. So if you've got any ideas, grab my email address and email it to me, and we'd love to work with you in terms of getting something decided. So that's kind of a point of pride for me, because I've been part of that program, and it excites me when we go to one of the shows, Sun and Fun, AirVenture, and what have you, and a master instructor will come up and show me the coin, because the other thing that the coins have been used for in the past, not specifically ours, but in the military, has been the challenge part is that when someone else has a challenge coin, you can challenge them to show it. And it's sort of a way to kind of decide whose bar tab it is, or who wins a bet, or whatever it might be. So a lot of people like to have fun with it. So, but again, without further ado, I like to thank our master panel, thank Bob for having us, and of course thank all of you for coming and listening to us talk. We really appreciate it, and we'd love to see you all become masters at some point.
And John, what'll the topic be the next time we get together?
Our next topic, which is actually going to go back to the Wednesday, it'll be the 3rd Wednesday of next month, which by my count is the 15th. So it'll be February 15th. And the topic of that will be, now that you're interested in the Master CFI, how do you become a Master CFI? How do we fill out the paperwork? We'll do a condensed version of how do we get from start to finish, and what kind of time frame and that sort of thing. What happens once you're accredited?
Great, thanks, John. Before we go, I just want to say, first of all, I'm very excited to be part of this. I'm not a master myself. With the job that I have, I can't figure out where I get the time. I'm an active instructor, but I can't get the number of hours I'd like to do it. But I will tell you that I'm excited to be a part of the program in the sense that it's part of the organization. John has done a tremendous job with this. He won't take enough credit for himself. John and Cody both do a great job administering this, and I really, really appreciate it. I know the industry appreciates it. So, John, hats off to you for doing a great job. And I'm going to close out with a comment from Kelly O'Day. I think that's how the name's pronounced. Thanks for all the wonderful information about NAFI. I hope to become a master myself, and in the meantime, will continue to be a professional mentor. I think that's a great way to close it out for tonight. So, as usual, I always give out a safety message because of who I am. Fly safe. It is winter. Be careful. Dress for the weather. I don't know what it's like in the rest of the country, but I'll tell you, in Omaha, it's nasty. So just be careful. Even if you're not flying, just be careful getting around. It's winter. So everybody, have a great night. Thank you much for joining.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay.
Good night.